Hey, I'm Angel, founder of AI Flow app, where we help founders turn operational chaos into clean, scalable systems using AI. AI Flow is my podcast where I talk to early stage leaders about the real behind the scenes, what's working, what's breaking, and how they're using tech to move faster with clarity. Let's get into it.
So tell me a little bit about what, how you like to talk about it and what you think. And yeah.
Yeah. So AI Flow is a podcast that I started for like founders to kind of like connect with each other and like see what other founders are doing, like what challenges they have operationally, like in the finance side, things like that.
Okay.
So that's kind of like what we're going to be delving into today. So like some industry trends that you're seeing, like what operational challenges you're seeing internally, and like, you know, what your role is at the company, things like that. And like we can like wrap up with like next steps after.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever,
yeah.
whatever you like. Yeah. I'm good to go.
Okay, yeah, cool. I saw that you posted some other podcasts as well. Do you do these pretty often?
Well, I have one. I have one
Okay.
that I do. I call it's called the Do It For Yourself podcast, and for like self-employed people and tips and
hmm
traits about running your own business. And so I do it a good amount. Yeah.
Okay. That's super cool. How'd you get into that?
It's funny. My wife probably honestly is the one that got me into it, and it was we're just thinking she was listening to podcasts. I started listening to podcasts around COVID, right when we all got locked down and
Yeah.
couldn't really connect and start listening. And I thought it was interesting, and I thought, oh, I might like to do this. But I didn't really think initially about something what I wanted to say or what I wanted to talk about. But then I eventually found, the groove. Someone reached out to me about starting a podcast about what I enjoy talking about and what I enjoy doing, and yeah, we're probably 2 or 3 years in now, so it's been a lot of fun.
Okay. So what got you into like merited wealth? Like
Yeah,
what
so,
made you start it?
so my background is I'm by trade in my schooling I'm an attorney, and I
hmm
started practicing law a number of years ago. And while that was fine, and I enjoyed doing it, really to move more from a transactional, like rather than seeing people just one time, but more to help them through, hey, we're going to talk about doing your plans. We're going to talk about what this might look like later on, to try to help them, guide them, and be there, with them through all those different steps. It kind of led me to go towards the wealth management, the financial planning side. And I incorporate the legal side to it, but it's really, what I like doing. I like it more about it's the longer term relational style part of the business rather than transactional.
Okay. That makes sense. So like I know there's a lot of changing like industry trends, especially with AI going on, things like that, and like more personalization in wealth management. So how is merited wealth? Like how are you adapting to that?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? That's the biggest conversation piece, AI and what AI can do for you. And I say tantamount to that is cost, it talks about like automation, right? Like getting all these certain tasks done for you quickly and seamlessly without you thinking about it. We're a small firm, right? We're not a large firm. Like I said, we're not transactional. We're not doing hundreds of transactions a month, so we don't need to be that automated, right? We don't need to be have AI helping out that much. What we're having it help out, like these note takers are pretty good, pretty useful. We search differently. It brings together the ideas of our searches a little different. Although you can't trust AI, right? You have to confirm what they're
Yeah.
doing. So we're using it a little bit on certain tasks, but quite honestly, because of our firm and that we're small, we try to be more high touch. We're purposefully not leaning completely into it. We're actually using it as an opportunity to differentiate ourselves, right? And to be more
Yeah.
personal and reach out with people because we're not high volume. If our goal was higher volume, we'd have to lean into a lot more, right?
Yeah.
So on the outskirts where it could help and really make our jobs a little easier or do away with some jobs, we'll use it. But it's not looking to really replace any of the core stuff we do, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Are there any like operational challenges that you see that teams are running into in general that maybe weren't that common a few years ago then?
Um, so I can speak for us, right? Because we've grown over the last few years, right? And so when you grow, there's, more operational challenges come up. In our business, I think that the biggest challenge is dealing with the custodians, right? The custodians to open up the account, to transact business. They're very stringent on what they require. I will say I have not seen, we use some of the bigger ones. I have not seen them adapt as quickly as you would like them to adapt. So some of
Okay.
those operational challenges, are showing up, and so that's
Yeah.
probably in our business. That's the biggest one, that the biggest challenges that we've had with it. On the investment management side, these tools are really good, really great. So they
Yeah.
make our life simpler. But the big custodians are really not making it that much easier. There are some other ones out there that are really tech forward, and they state that they will help you out, and things will move quicker. And I know that they are. Just the challenge is, right? No one's heard of them. And when you're dealing with clients and managing their money, to use a custodian no one's heard of, you
Mhm.
can do it. It's just harder. So it's kind of weighing the value of that big brand versus their operational challenges.
Okay. Could you delve a little bit more into that, like on the custodian side?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're doing wealth management, you're asking someone to invest their money, right? If
Yeah.
you're at a Morgan Stanley, a Merrill Lynch, a Wells Fargo, okay, they kind of know what they're getting, right? It's a big name, it's a big
Yeah.
brand. They're kind of comfortable with that. But when you go to the on the independent side, right, for those that run smaller firms and have chosen to be independent for many different reasons, we don't custody funds, right, like the big banks do. So we outsource, and we use these other custodians with them. So really they are the big linchpin that's really a constraining or a positive factor of your practice, is how good are their systems and flows. And unfortunately, since they know they are the biggest ones, we're kind of beholden to them. They try to help out with service, and some of the bigger ones help out with service, but their technology is probably not as good as some of these startups, like I told you about. And you probably hear that from a lot of fintech and different founders out there. Do
Yeah.
you start somebody? Do you start a company brand new and write your own code, or are you building on legacy systems?
Yeah.
And if you're building on legacy systems, you break those every day, and so it adds complexity, right? And
Yeah.
so that's when you deal with the bigger ones, you have those legacy system issues. When you deal with the kind of the newer age ones, you don't.
Yeah. Are you seeing people, I don't know, like trend towards the startups more or not at all?
Great question. Um, I think the startups would like you to think they are, but I
Yeah.
don't see it.
You don't see
No,
it? No?
no. It's probably it's a demographic. It's probably if you work with a much younger demographic, right?
Mhm.
That aren't really don't put that value in the main brand, and the big brands. Maybe
Yeah.
they would tend to go, right. They would go there, and so I'm not gonna say any particular age or generation or something, but maybe an advisor, their late 20s, early 30s,
Yeah.
they'd be open for that. But when you get more seasoned and you're going to higher net worth and you're working on these different clients, it's hard. It's a hard sell. It's a
Really?
hard set. Yeah, I mean, you're going up against Morgan Merrill that have all this billions of dollars
Yeah.
of that they put in there into their branding and marketing, and you're trying to say, hey, yeah, it's going to be a better experience, and we're using someone you've never heard of to hold your life savings. It becomes tough.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you would say most of your custodians are like the
Yeah,
larger
that's
banks.
That's the choice we've made. The larger financial institutions, yeah. There's about three or four, and we use primarily one of them, and that's the business choice we've made.
Yeah.
It does, like I
That
said,
makes sense.
it gives to the operational pain, but as of right now,
Yeah.
we're not looking to change that.
That makes sense. Is there like one thing that founders like often miss when they're scaling their ops or finances that you think that they could improve on?
Um, so I guess it's I had lots of conversations about this,
Mm.
with friends. I think what not necessarily maybe that they miss, but that they should do sooner is kind of like your finances. Get someone in to help out with your finances sooner than later, right? And
Yeah.
regarding your ops, get someone in that is more ops focused than you sooner than later. Because as founders, as we start up, we tend to do a lot of different things. And this is a pain point for me, but I'm working really hard at. I tended to hold on to these things too long, and then we experience this pretty quick growth. You can't just flip the switch, right?
Yeah.
You can't just bring these people in. So
Yeah.
I think it's getting those people, and it doesn't have to be full-time hires, maybe fractional, but getting the people in that can help with the finances and the operational
Yeah.
probably a little sooner than you think you need it. And I always used to always be a big proponent of that when hiring, right? Hire someone right before you think it's vital, right? And that typically is the right time to hire. But these other
Interesting.
things I held on to too long, and so now I'm working to outsource those.
Okay. So you're still working outsources, or you're
I'm in the
done? You're like,
process. I'm in the
okay.
process. Yeah, I'm in the process of finding the right partner because, then when you're a founder in a small business, all the other companies out there that will help you, some of them are okay, but a lot of them just want to buy you, right? And want you to say, yeah, don't
Yeah.
worry about this, right? This is just adopt all of our systems and processes. And I'm like,
That's not what you want.
I don't want to. That's not what I want. So
Yeah.
I'm really focusing on that to make sure I make sure I'm doing only the stuff I want to do, and that's an
Yeah.
ongoing challenge right now. And I think a lot of founders, go through all that.
Okay. Like, what is it that you want if it's not adopting everyone else's processes? Like, what's your vision?
It's partly so for certain activities and certain processes, right? There's not that many ways to do it, right? And so you're like there's a good way to do it. So you're not trying to rewrite those. But more so than saying the different systems or processes, it's that we don't know what we don't know, and as we're growing, we don't know what we're going to need. And the biggest fear is that as we grow, something that becomes important at a later date that you don't know about right now, if you go into someone else's systems and process, maybe they've already made the decision, no, we don't want to do that, right? Or we don't want to do it that way.
Yeah.
And me like, well, this is something I want to do, right? And so I think that's really it's the
Yeah.
fear of the unknown, of where as you're quickly growing, you don't know what you're going to need next. So you're very hesitant to fully adopt someone else's limitations, not knowing whether you're going to be happy with those or not. And that's something that we've gone through a lot.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you want to be able to build out your processes the way that you want them to and not have like limitations of what's already been put in place by other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's they've a lot of these companies, like when you outsource to these companies, they will put these systems in place and they have a reason for it, right? And that's fine,
Yeah.
and they have a good
Hmm.
reason for it. But then when you realize, well, my path is different, I want to do this differently, and then
Yeah.
there's another advice I'd give. If you're working with someone and early on you run into that situation and they're very slow or resistant to make that change, I mean, like, leave tomorrow, right? And
Really.
find either a better part. Yeah, because it's
Hmm.
just going to get worse and worse.
I see. Do you find that happening a lot though? Because I feel like startups are usually pretty flexible. Or if
Um,
you're
you know,
outsourcing, unless you're outsourcing from like a larger bank or
well,
like
that's
larger.
that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Right. So other startups, I think. So once again, I can speak to my business, right? On
Yeah.
the individual wealth management of the companies that you're working with, right?
Hmm.
To get scale and to be able to start doing all the services we need for clients right away, you can't build everything on your own, right? You can, but that would require you to go out and raise funds, bring in people that know what they're doing, and try to build this plane. That could take a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Hmm.
But many entrepreneurs, like what I did, was I went out as an attorney and a financial advisor, and I got clients. You get one client, they pay you. You go get two clients, they pay you, right? And you start building from there. So it doesn't make sense for you to go all in, try to build everything out. It's build it as you need it. And some of the services that you'll go through is in the technology, they'll say, okay, let me outsource this. Okay, that works good for me now. But I found a lot of those outsource providers, I've outgrown them very quickly, right? Because
Yeah.
I did not, once again, like I didn't know where I was going to go. So for me and for people in my business and advisors or even attorneys that you choose a software solution of, of whatever, of billing, of whatever it might
Mhm.
be. You can, yes, I see a lot of pain and growing out of that. If you go to my business, there's this one great commentator called Michael Kitces, Kitces. You can find it, and he puts together a FinTech spreadsheet. It's like one page, and there's like 120 names on there or more. It's
It's a lot.
overwhelming. So you got a lot of people trying to sell you on the right thing. So it's very, very tough to know, hey, which one do I choose now, and which one is going to be most open and go and grow with me, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's everyone's solution. And as you go back, I see some of these companies, and they have evolved and they've done a great job, but it didn't feel like they were doing that before, right? So it's really really a challenge, and I'll say
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things our founders, and I see a lot of people that just throw their hands up and go join a larger firm, that they get too frustrated with there's too many options, doing it too many different ways, let down too many times. Enough. Yeah, I wanted to do it on my own, but this is taking up too much time.
Okay. How do you discern like who you want to work with?
It's hard. It's really hard. You interview them, you talk to other advisors, you see what people are using, you talk to your team, you try to decide what you think the most value is for you, and then you make that move, right? And I've really
Yeah.
adopted. I used to enjoy looking into and adopting this tech in the past, but now it's kind of like when I get to that third step with the team, I'm like, hey, listen, this is something that I found interesting. This is something my other friends that run firms find useful.
Hmm.
Do we think this is the whatever the issue they're trying to solve for? Is that a big enough issue for us to change how we're currently do it to solve for?
Yeah.
Is there immediate value? And probably 9 out of 10 times now we say no, and so we stay with the ones that maybe aren't necessarily the best, but then again we just we have our system set and we stick to that because it can be too disruptive trying to adopt too much other systems and processes.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. So when you say it's like maybe not the best, are you seeing like any manual work or like older systems that have slowed things down more than you expected?
Um, Something that we adopted that slowed things down more than we expect. No, I wouldn't say they would slow it down, but I have seen that when we adopted
Yeah.
something new, it didn't speed it up, right? And
Yeah.
that's so then now it's kind of like, well, then why do we do it?
Yeah.
Right. And so, for example, we use like online schedulers or items like that, and to cut down on the back and forth to setting up meetings. Sometimes they work okay, but other times, other than that, you want, just have someone, hey, call this person and just set up the meeting, right?
Yeah.
And in our business, once again, because we focus not being transactional, it's more service and more
Yeah.
relationship based.
Yeah.
People appreciate that.
Okay. What about on the ops side? Because I feel like it makes sense on the services side. You want to have human touch and like you want to build that relationship. But like on the ops side, like you don't really need that, right?
Um,
Ops finance,
it's
like
Angel. It's interesting.
workflows.
It's interesting you say that, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter how automated, no matter how good the system is,
Hmm.
on the back end ops, when it's working, like technology, when it's working great, right? When your cell
Yeah.
phone's working, the texts are working, but when it's not,
Yeah.
what do you do, right? And so at every point, there is someone or some kind of team that you do want to be able to reach out to someone. And I will tell you, I am seeing those providers that come forward on the ops side, right, with a tech solution that is supported by real people. Those are the ones I gravitate to,
Yeah.
right? Because if you can't support the tech solution, it's not fun when your iPhone doesn't work, right? But it doesn't kill your business,
Yeah.
and so that's what I really look for. So I would say, yeah, we do look for ones that have people based, right? You can have AI support it, but we can all
Yeah.
tell when we're dealing with an AI chatbot nowadays, right?
Yeah.
right? And so that's my the first layer or two layers of support in my initial. I'm like, forget that. I don't want that people. I don't want to work with them.
I mean, yeah, that's totally fair. That's
Yeah.
super fair. Yeah. Is there like one thing, if you could like wave a magic wand, is there one thing that you would want to fix on the back end financial processes overnight or anything like that?
Um, if I could wave my magic wand
Yeah,
and
just
say what's the one big thing that I wish I could fix. I guess the biggest challenge out there, right, is integrations. With all these
okay.
systems integrating and talking to each other.
Yeah.
And that's everything. Getting systems to talk to each other, right? I think that's
Yeah.
the majority of this business. If there could be a way to create that common language amongst these systems, that would be everything, right? Because that's
Yeah.
just it's because what I see as we go through, you need more than one system, right? You need a portfolio reporting, you need an accounting, you need a billing, you need a trading, you need a reconciliation, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes every people bring that all together, right? And do it in one, but then you get subject to those limitations of which they saw, right? And what they didn't do. And those are getting better. They're getting better at it, but somehow to get all the different disparate systems to talk together better, I guess that would be the way to do it. I can't really think of put my finger on anything else really that is
Yeah.
that much of a pain point, just constantly having to go in between different systems.
Yeah, that's actually a pain point that I saw. So a little bit of background about me. I worked in corporate for like a few Fortune 100 companies for the past few years, past
Hmm.
6 years. Recently came out, started the AI Flow app. Actually, the reason why I started that is because I saw all those pain points. Like I worked in finance. I was like, okay, I have to pull this report down and then I have to copy and paste it into this Excel. I'm like, okay, now I have to generate this report, send it to someone. It's like very manual. I'm not like analyzing anything. Like I'm just wasting my time. So
Yeah.
that is why I started AI Flow app to help founders integrate systems or like make things more efficient. And I've also worked in operations as well. So it's like operational efficiencies has always been like something that I've been passionate about, something that like I just like the satisfying feeling of okay, this works seamlessly now. I don't have to waste another brain cell on this, you know?
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. You see it, right? There's no value in
Yeah.
you taking a piece of data from one system and putting it into another. There's no value, right? That's a
There
waste of
really
time,
isn't.
right?
It
You
is.
don't, yeah, because you want to get to the point where the data is there now useful, and you can
Hmm.
use it to help inform your decisions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think potentially go back to the start. Like AI can probably do good things like that on the tech and,
Yeah.
and, and the back end. But then whenever we have to reach out and interface with our customers, that's where we have to be wary.
No, that makes sense. Like honestly, like when I'm dealing with customer service, I don't want to talk to AI chatbots. Like give me a person, you know?
Yeah,
I get
right.
that. Yeah. Like I think
Yeah.
on the customer service side, it's super important to have human touch and hopefully good human touch.
It's interesting. I'll tell you, Angel.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little off topic, but we experimented with using a virtual assistant out of the country, all right, a couple months ago, and
Okay.
to interact with our clients. Once again, I'll say it, right? Ours is relationship based.
Yeah.
This the her and other people in her company are really trained to be kind of like telemarketers, right? It's very transactional, it's very formal. So it was
Mm.
very off-putting from our clientele that hello, Mrs. Lee, this is such and such from Merited Wealth. How da, 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 da. It was like so formal like that it almost felt like you were talking to a machine and not a person, right?
Yeah.
And so you would hope that you have the human touch, but you almost didn't have it there. So that's another maybe for another
Yeah.
podcast, right? Is that you get these automated AI chatbots
Yeah.
that are talking with you, but sometimes, and I'm not saying always, but what our experience was outsourcing that to another country, you got a human kind of acting like a robot, and that wasn't what we wanted.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of the experience I get like calling like larger call centers, like when they're outsourcing from a different company. They're very transactional, very like, oh, just get this done. But like they're just trained to do that, and their native language isn't English.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like the cultural norms are different and things
yeah.
like that. It's like a cultural barrier too.
And you're like, I know this is going to take me 20 minutes, but should take me two.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, and that's yeah, the frustrating part of it. But you know how maybe let's solve that, right? If you're calling to a big company, right, to somehow make that integration. If you're going to teach the humans that are not maybe in the U.S. or train a different way, teach them to be more
yeah,
human and
yeah,
utilize the AI better.
yeah. So like looking to the next 6 to 12 months, I guess like where would you want to be like in your like internal improvements and things like that?
Yeah, where we're trying to do, where we're talking, we're looking at different solutions. We're
Hmm.
coming from an environment where it was very restrictive and we couldn't do what we want. In the next 6 months, we're going to be there that we're going to have it that all the systems we've chosen and where we've outsourced, we've handpicked each one so that we can do everything that we are going to want to do. Like I'll say, you know, I've only been in the business 10 years. 10 years ago, I didn't know what I was going to need in 10 years.
Yeah, fair.
10 years into it, I have a good idea of what I'm going to need over the next 10 years. And even more so than that, I'm making the choice that these are the only things that I'm going to need. Right. So that's
Yeah,
that's as we refine our vision, we're making our choice. And so as we come together and make those choices to find the best solutions for us on that. And so that's we're right exactly there. You know, you caught us right at this inflection point, and that's
yeah.
what it's going to look like.
Okay.
All right, Angel,
Well,
this has been great then.
this has been really great. Thank you, Steve.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.